So I'm in our demo app, and I created a test cases just to do some special testing just for this this webinar. So I want to show you some of the new things in version 2. So we're going to test multiple tags. We're also going to test a doc instead of a PDF, because we know JuicedSign version 1 does PDFs. So let's just do this quick test here. I'm going to actually send it from my Juiced. So recipient number 1 is going to be me, and I'm going to be a captive recipient, meaning I'm going to sign right in Quickbase, and I'm actually going to send it. And I want to show the editable signature tags now and initials. So I'm going to say, enter your name here instead of actually entering a valid name or someone who's actually going to sign. I'm doing it this way so that you'll see when the agreement opens that it prompts them to enter their name. Okay, and then the email address I'm going to use our JuicedTech2005 Gmail. Okay, so I have enough information in here about the agreement that I want to send. I'm going to use Exact Forms Plus to actually create this. And we're creating a Word doc, not a PDF, even though that button says create PDF. So here's the Word document that I created. And this isn't actually something you would ever send somebody. It's just a document that I put together to show you all of the different tags that we have. So right now, version 2 supports 13 different tags, as you can see here. We have a couple built-in tags, and really those are information that we have in the Quickbase application about the recipient. So first name, last name, full name, the date they're going to sign, and their email address. Those cannot be edited. So once they show up in the document, the recipients can't change those. But they will be able to change, obviously, they'll be able to sign, they'll be able to initial now, and they'll be able to enter an email, date, text, and numeric value if they want. So this is the document that's going to be sent out just in this little test here for this JuicedSign sample test. So I generated the document. It's sitting right here in this file attachment field. I'm going to come over here and I can preview the agreement. And again, this hasn't changed. The only thing that's changed in this version is when we talk about editable signatures and signatures, you can have one recipient that can have both. So one recipient can't be both an editable signer and a regular signer. And this preview will stop that and it'll let you know. But really the preview kind of lets you see what are the tags going to look like in a document that goes out to the recipients. So if I look at recipient number 1, this is what that recipient number 1's view is going to look like. These are the tags that they're going to have to action on. And then you can see that some are required, some are not, and you can see the alignment. And you can always play with the alignment. That's one of the purposes of the preview. And if I look at the recipient number 2, you can see that they have different tags that they have to action on. Right. So we're going to actually, once I preview this and everything looks good, I can close this, and now I can actually send this off to JuicedSign. So when I click send, and you can see that these tables are empty right now because the agreement's not created yet. The preview just lets you look at it and make sure that it's really confirmation. Is this really what I want to send out to my recipients? Now, when I really want to send it out, I'm going to click on the send to JuicedSign. For those of you who are on version 1, you'll see that we have versions right next to the close button. So just to confirm if you're on version 2 or not, you'll see version 2 here. If you're not, we'll help you upgrade. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But here we go. This is just, again, another confirmation page. Agreement's not created yet. It's just saying, okay, I'm going to send this document to these recipients. The first one's going to be captive, and I'm going to show you what that means. And the second one's going to get an email to sign. So everything looks good. I'm going to send it to JuicedSign. This is where we're going to actually create the agreement. And since the first person, or usually the salesperson is the first person because that's the person who's creating the agreement. And there's no reason to make them sign through email because then they have to go back to their email to go get it. So this is why we have a captive recipient. So it's really an easier way for the first person to sign. So again, you can check the terms and conditions, make sure everything looks good there, then that you agree to sign electronically. You click the checkbox, and then you continue and you start the actual signing process. So here we go. Here's all of the different tags that we have now. We have signed and we have initials. These are new in version 2 that for editable, and the initials is new. We have a date, and you can see that these are our built-in ones. These are not editable. So they're basically pulling data from the Quickbase application recipient, and you can't change those because those are set when the agreement's created. But these I can click on. So I can click on the sign. And again, this person, recipient number 1, is not allowed to edit his signature. I made recipient 2 be the editable signature recipient. So here I can choose my signature. I can choose from a pre-drawn one, or I can draw a signature. I like choosing one because it's just quicker. So let's say I choose that one. I hit save. Now, when I choose my initials, it's going to pull the initial forward from there. But let's say I got the initial one first. So let's say I want to choose this initial right here. It pops the initials in there, but you still have to click to sign. It's more of a, we want you to physically, select your signature. So initials, if it comes first, you can click the signature, and you can actually choose a different font than what you actually had from your initials. So you see that's the old initials, but so here's our new tag initials. The date tag now, it's a date picker. So now so we can force the date format in here, and you can choose any date. And then the next one is an email. So maybe I wanted the person to confirm their email address, but you know what? Let's not enter a valid email address. So now this is our tag validation here. So we're forcing you to put in a proper email, and maybe I didn't put in .com, so it's still not liking it yet. So let's put in .com. So once I click out of that, it's valid. So now we have a couple more tags down here, and these 2 are required. So, and you know what? I'm going to try to type in some texts. Nope, it's a numeric field, so it's not allowing me to type in text. So I actually have to put in some numeric values. Text, obviously, we can accept numbers, letters, and some special characters. And these 2, you'll notice the finish button shows because these 2 are not required. So I don't have to fill in these. You know what? Maybe I'll fill in one of them. But if I did back to one of my required fields, finish button goes away because that's required. So we want to make sure that people enter all of the data that they're supposed to before we allow that finish to be visible. So recipient number 1, which I'm the salesperson, and I'm creating that first instance of the agreement, or I'm completing my setup or my responsibility for the agreement. And again, this was available in version 1 too. We all the tracking is done inside of Quickbase. So you can see that the agreement itself is up here, and when it was created and when the status was last updated. You can see recipient number 1, who was me and the captive recipient. I completed my responsibility, and now it was delivered to recipient number 2. So let's go over to my email. I'm going to come over here. So I'm in my JuicedTech email address. Here's the email I just got. So I'm going to, instead of clicking to review, because maybe this is going to block me. Gmail allows this to go through, but let's just assume that I can't click this. It's stopping me from do that. I want to access I want to use the alternate signing method. So I'm going to copy and paste this authentication token. And I'm going to go to www.juicedsign.com. I'm going to go to my access agreements. I'm going to paste that token, review agreement. And it says, just as if I clicked on that click to review from the email. So it's bringing me right to JuicedSign. So now I can continue on in the process. So now I'm recipient number 2. I can edit my signature now, and I can edit my initials. So if I click to sign, you notice before I said enter your name, well, it's telling the person enter your name here, and we'll calculate a signature based on what you enter. So let's say I am John Smith in this case. And you'll see that I can edit my initials as well. And now I have a signature based on John Smith. I have initials based on John Smith, so I can continue to process. So now as well, again, we have those built-in fields for the second recipient. We have our date picker. We have our email address again. I'm going to just enter a different. There's no validation done here. It's really just the validation is it a valid email address? That's what we do there. I'm going to enter a numeric value because I can't enter text. Enter some text. And let's just enter some value in this one and not in that second one. But you know what? I never initialed. So it's still not visible. which is good. So this is a signature and initials are always required tags. If they appear in an agreement, you have to action on them. So all I got to do, since I already did this, is click here and it puts my initials in there based on what I entered before. Now everything looks good. I'm going to finish this agreement. Again, the landing page, this is what we were talking about before. You can override this if you provide us with a landing page. Otherwise, this is what will appear to your recipients. So now when I go back into my agreement, we'll see that everybody has completed their process. You have your dates delivered, dates opened, dates signed, status updates, and so on. And right now what's happening is our process is going behind the scenes and it's generating what we call a certificate of completion along with that signed document. So you'll see both the signed document come back with the certificate. And in this case, you can bring them back separately in different file attachment fields, or you can bring them back together. So in this sample, I decided to bring them back together. And then what happens is behind the scenes, we have a process. Actually, Xaphones Plus is running behind the scenes to generate these documents. And sometimes that takes a little bit more time. So there it is right there. So now when I click on this, this is the fully signed document that came back with all of the tags, all of the initials, the signatures, all of the information that was entered. You see, we brought in one case, we did not enter a value in these two unrequired fields, but we entered values in the required fields. Here's that document, and then here's the certificate of completion. And we've updated this to include the initials now. We've also updated it to include the date that the actual button was clicked, that they accepted the terms and conditions when they opened up the agreement to sign off on. Okay, so you also have the actual terms that they agreed to when they did click on that checkbox. So that's the end-to-end process of it going from start to finish with all of the tags. Again, 13 tags in total now, and we plan on offering more. But maybe that test didn't make as much sense. So let's actually put it in a quote. So I'm going to create a new test, and I'm going to put it in a quote this time. So I'm going to say I'm going to create a quote. I'm going to use ABC.
Well, Keith does this. One thing I just want to mention too, Keith, you said how the PDF takes just a moment to generate back. It's pretty uncommon for someone to be going back and forth with these signatures, kind of like we are in this demo. So if you're using this in a real world example, that PDF likely will be there the next time you check your record. In all likelihood, you're not going to be doing this to the second as we are right now. So I wouldn't keep that too much in consideration.
Right. And those also get emailed to the recipients too. I didn't show that, but let me just, if I pull up the email, here's the completed document that came back, and I'm in the second recipient's email address. So basically it says, hey, everything's completed, and it includes the attachment. So you can actually see that. So, but one of the things, we don't include the certificate here because you usually don't want to send that out. That's something more internal. You can if you want, but typically you don't want to send out that certificate to the end recipient. You want to keep that internally so you can track everything inside. So the recipient actually sees the actual executed agreement. But in this sample here that I'm doing now, I'm creating a real quote. This is something that we send out all the time. I'm going to show you the initial tag in here for the end recipient's going to initial, and they're actually going to sign off on the bottom. So this is a multi-page document with just a couple of tags. Again, Xaphones Plus created it, stored it in this file attachment field. I'm not going to go through the preview right now to save time. I'm just going to go right to send. Again, I'm going to have a captive recipient, which is the salesperson, which is me. And then I'm going to send it out to my JuicedSign Gmail address. When documents get bigger and there's more tags, it does take a couple extra seconds to go through this process because we do validation before we actually allow the agreement to be created. So we make sure that the tags represent who they're valid tags, and that we have valid recipients and email addresses are correct, and we have names that are correct. Because you can't send out a document unless you have a name and an email address. Those are required fields. So I'm going to send this to JuicedSign, create this agreement. It's going to open up in captive recipient mode to the salesperson, which is me. I'm going to agree to the terms. I'm going to continue, and I'm going to start the process, which all I have to do is sign off that I am the salesperson and I agree to this, and I want this to be sent out to my customer. So now if I go to my email, this is my Juiced Tech email, my Gmail. There we go. Request for signature. I'm going to click to review this time instead of using the alternate signing method. So now me as the client, I'm going to review this, and I'm going to have to initial first. It's not an edit, it is an editable initial, so I can change this if I don't like it. Maybe I wanted to put my middle initial in there. And then I'm going to click to sign. And that's all I needed to do to complete this. So that's creating it in a I say a real document that might be sent out, and we send these out all the time. And actually, you will be getting a document like this from Matt and my team. They put these together for you guys, so you have some quotes going out through JuicedSign, so you can experience it yourself. So again, everything's coming back to Quickbase. And one thing I didn't show in the last test case is we had all that data that we entered into the document, into the agreement. I'm going to go back to that one I just did. And I'm going to go to this JuicedSign fields. If you scroll down here, all of this information that was entered into the agreement for both recipients, I brought back to Quickbase. And that's just tag settings. You can specify on the recipient tags if you want data that's captured in the document to also be parsed out and brought back into individual fields in Quickbase. So they'll live in the document itself, but they can also live individually within your Quickbase application. So again, that document's coming back. We're going through the same process, creating a certificate. I don't have to go through that in detail since you've already seen that. But one thing I did want to show is the other security feature that we added was, I'm going to go into my Gmail because I had an agreement that I actually tried to sign 3 times already. So I wanted to show that. We said that we have a max limit of 3. So I did click to review this one 3 times earlier in the day. This one's created at 12:35. But I want to show you what would actually happen if I try to do that a 4th time. So when I click on this, it gives you an error page, and it's basically saying that you've already exceeded that limit. So what's happening now is our JuicedSign is now going to send me another email back to that same email address. So now I basically just get another document to sign, another email. It's coming. The email will look just like the original email, just like this. So a new message just came. So let's see. There it is. Okay, so here's my new email. So nothing's changed. I just got a brand new email. It just came in at 2:36, which is right now. So now when I click to review, the process starts all over again. The counter starts at 1. And now, just in case maybe I went into this and I agreed, but maybe I decided to finish later. And I did that 3 times. So we want to try to prevent a lot of access back and forth to the document. So that's why we introduced that. So it's really technically not a true error, but we want to kind of limit their access going back and forth like that. So that's why we did that. So I could click it again. I did choose finish later. I can click it again and come in, and the counter would now be 2 after I look at this again. But again, as the second recipient, I would come in and I would finish my process. So I just kind of wanted to show that in action, how that limit process works. Okay, so I think I went through everything in that I wanted to hit. So let me jump back into our presentation here. So if you are already existing version 1 client, there's an upgrade path, and it's very simple. You just have to add these new tag types into your type of tag field on your JuicedSign recipients table, recipient tags table. And again, it's really important that if you do anything with this field here, that you don't change these. These values have to be exactly the way they're set here. So if you don't like that DocuSign doesn't have a space in here, don't put a space in there. If you don't like that there's parentheses around this or initials isn't spelled out, please don't touch those, because JuicedSign actually needs these to be exactly the way they are. And I know sometimes it bugs people that it doesn't look like they want it to look, but we do recommend that you don't touch any of these things that are just specific to JuicedSign, because it will end up causing some errors. There's a few customers that we have to do one little more upgrade than just this. We have to point your URL to a different web link, but we're going to reach out to our version 1 customers and we're going to help you upgrade to version 2. It's very, very simple to upgrade to version 2, so you can take advantage of it right away. Before I get into our roadmap, are there any questions about what I kind of just went through, version 2, the features, the demo? All right, that's good. Either I confused the hell out of everybody or everybody understood me. So we obviously, we're continually.
Before we go into roadmap, I think it's worth mentioning, tomorrow we have office hours typically at 2 p.m. Eastern. As many of you have attended, I see some frequent faces in here. Tomorrow's going to be basically a one-on-one for JuicedSign clients, where we're not going to be recording the session and we're going to be kind of going through how to do the setup. So as Keith mentioned before, we are running an offer right now for this week, and all of this can be set up on your own. We truly believe that this is, as with all of our tools, a DIY tool. You could do it yourself. But with that being said, we do want to give you guys resources. So Justin, if you could just put the registration link in for tomorrow's office hours in the chat, I'll be there in the same room as always, and I'll be willing to help you guys. So give it a shot tonight, and then we're going to go through and make sure we can get you guys to success tomorrow. And then you should be off to the races. Once it's set up, it's almost like our other add-ons, where it could be a set it and forget it tool for you guys.
Actually, Matt, I might have enough time to do a quick setup. So I kind of went, I know I went through fast, but I wanted to cover, there's a lot to cover, and I want to go through the roadmap, but I have an app that I can quickly set up just to show you what the setup process looks like. So that it might
let's do it.
Get you jump started, and then definitely meet with Matt tomorrow to get any questions answered. So again, some of the things that we have plans. This is one that we're being asked for a lot, creating the agreement on an event. So instead of having to click that send to JuicedSign button, you can actually, once Exact Forms Plus, or whenever a document's uploaded to the file attachment field you want to be sent for signature, we can automatically create that agreement. That's going to be earlier. That'll probably the next thing that we introduce, and it's probably going to be coming in the September timeframe. That's probably the latest. So Manal's working hard on that, and she's going to have that ready. So she told me that she can definitely have that ready sooner than what we had thought. So that's something that we're really excited about, as well as scheduling documents to be created, or JuicedSign agreements to be sent out. So it'll be scheduled to be sent, and that's going to be another cool feature. But we're looking to support other document types. Like I said before, text and Excel documents will be next, and there'll be more after that. We'll also allow you to send and use documents that are stored in another Quickbase table instead of the same table. We'll allow you to grab a document from another table, as well as other clouds, meaning S3 or Dropbox or Google Drive. So these are some of the things that we're planning for the future. Then not only being able to grab them from a different table, but store them in another table as well. That's important too. Maybe you want to have a document library where all of your contracts that are signed live. We're going to allow you to do that, because right now you have to send and store from the same table, the master table. We're going to allow you to do that a little differently in future versions. As from a tag perspective, we're going to be, right now, every tag has to be anchor string, meaning you have to find some piece of text in the document to key off of, and then do an XY offset. In the next version, we're going to have tag placement based on page number and XY, because maybe you don't have an anchor that you can key off of. So we'll allow you to say, hey, go on page 1, go X and Y, and drop a tag. That'll be coming up soon. We're going to be doing validation with regex patterns instead of, and allowing you to control those regex patterns right on the tags table. We'll be able to pop default values into the tags. So when those enterable tags appear in a recipient's agreement, maybe we want to prime them with some data from Quickbase and then allow them to overwrite it. That'll be coming next. We're going to have some approve and decline tags. Instead of signing, maybe they just want to have a button that says, yes, I agree, or no, I don't. Radio buttons, single list options, so that maybe it will have a drop down where they can choose one option. And then we're gonna have a drop down where they can choose multiple options. So multiple choice and single choice. Those are from a tags perspective. Recipient related changes in the future are going to be add, change, and delete recipients when the agreement's actually even in process, meaning it's already been sent out. But maybe we need to change the recipient. Maybe the customer called up and say, you know what, can you change the person to be signing this to be my boss instead of me? That'll be something that we'll add. And then access codes. Maybe we want to actually have a code that goes out to the customer so that they have to enter a valid value before they can continue and sign. And we're going to do some signer identification things. Maybe we'll start talking about different authentication tokens, maybe through their license, some other identifiers. And security, we don't have a timeout right now. So when someone opens up that agreement, we're not timing out, but we want to add timeouts to that. So again, that's another security feature that we're going to be adding later on. So that's the roadmap. But I do want to leave you guys off with a quick setup. So I do have an app that I can show you here. I pulled this out of the library. I assigned a token to it, and this is in my builder account. So I want to add JuicedSign to this app. It's a simple app. It doesn't have Exact Forms Plus in it. You don't need Exact Forms Plus to use JuicedSign. But obviously, we want you to use Exact Forms Plus. But so let's go into the cloud here, and I'm going to pull up my builder. Whoops. I'm going to authorize a new application to use JuicedSign, which really means I want to set up a new application. So when I click authorize new app, and again, this setup assumes that you already have at least one app set up. So it's not going to go through the account setup. That's going to be different. But I just want to get you see some sort of the setup going on here. So I choose that I want to use an existing token. I'm going to choose this application that I called JuicedSign V2 Estimates. And now it's basically going to say, okay, well, what do you want to do inside of that application? What table do you want to set up? And I'm going to set up my estimates table. What file attachment field do you want to use that has a document that is going to be sent out? I don't have one, so I want to create one. What do I want to name it? I'm going to say, document to send. How many signers are going to be involved in this? Well, maybe I want 2 signers. So I want a person to sign at the beginning, and I want the first signer to be a captive recipient, like I showed you in the past. And I want to create a new field because I don't have these fields. So I'm going to have that be my sender. Then I want to add a new email address field, and I want that to be sender email. And then I'm going to go to my second signer, which is going to be my customer. So I don't have any customer fields in there. Oh, I actually have customer name. I want to use that as the field of the name of the signer or my customer. And I don't think I have an email address in there for them. So I'm going to create one. And I'm going to call it the customer email. So now I did everything that I needed to set JuicedSign up. So I'm going to hit finish now. So right now what's happening is we're creating the tables necessary to support JuicedSign in this application. We're creating the relationships, the fields, and so on, and you're going to see that. So that's why it's taken a little bit of time here to do that. And I'm going to bring the app over once this is done. This is where we need that music.
Or we can talk about the offer, because we're going to need to talk about that too before everyone leaves.
Right. So it actually finished, and it's basically telling you all you have to do is you can use a sample template, which I downloaded already, but it told you what table it set up, all of the fields that it created, and the tables too that it created in the application. So I'm going to just I can actually click on that and it'll take me right there. But really, all of the heavy lifting was done. This table, like we created these 4 tables for you. So there's no manual effort that has to be done there. You can be ready to put up your own document and start your tagging and get using JuicedSign.